In the late 1970s, television was the great storyteller of our time. It brought the world into living rooms. But when it came to science, most programs were either dry lectures or flashy spectacles with little substance. Carl Sagan had spent years watching this gap between what science truly was, an adventure of discovery, and how it was presented to the public. He was already a well-known astronomer, planetary scientist, and popularizer of science. His appearances on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson had shown that millions were willing to listen to science if it was delivered with warmth and wonder. Yet Sagan believed there was something missing. How? He asked. Do you make the cosmos feel personal? This question lingered in his conversations with Anne Druyan, a writer with a poetic sensibility, and Stephen Soter, an astrophysicist and collaborator. They imagined a series that would blend rigorous science with storytelling, history, and philosophy. An odyssey that could take viewers across the universe and back in time, all while reminding them of their place in it. It was an audacious vision. The idea was not to lecture, but to invite. To speak not just to the intellect, but to the heart. Sagan often compared it to a journey in a ship of the imagination, one that could sail through the rings of Saturn, visit the Library of Alexandria, and explore the first moments of the universe. The television industry, however, was skeptical. Science didn't sell, they said, at least not on the grand scale he envisioned. There was no guarantee that millions of viewers would spend hours watching discussions about galaxies, molecules, and the evolution of life. But Sagan was convinced that curiosity was universal and that the cosmos belonged to everyone. In those early meetings, he would look producers in the eye and say, "We are all star stuff. The atoms in our bodies were forged in the hearts of ancient stars. If that's not personal, what is?" And so the seed was planted. Cosmos, a personal voyage, would be more than a science program. It would be a celebration of human curiosity, a love letter to the universe, and a reminder that understanding the cosmos is, ultimately, a way of understanding ourselves. Once the idea was accepted, the real challenge began: how to visualize the universe in a way that could both educate and inspire. This was the late 1970s. Computer-generated imagery was in its infancy, and special effects for science programming were almost non-existent. To bring cosmos to life, Sagan and his team had to invent new techniques from scratch. They worked with artists, animators, and practical effects specialists to design sequences that could take the viewer on impossible journeys. The ship of the imagination was born, a sleek metaphorical vessel that could glide through galaxies, dive into the microcosm of a cell, or travel back in time to witness Earth's early history. The cosmic calendar, one of the show's most iconic devices, compressed the 13.8 billion-year history of the universe into a single year, allowing audiences to see just how brief human history had been. Sagan insisted that every frame had to carry emotional weight. The visuals were important, but the storytelling was paramount. The language had to be precise yet poetic, rooted in science, but rich in metaphor. Science, he often said, is not just a body of knowledge. It's a way of thinking, a way of seeing the world. Music played a crucial role as well. The team chose compositions by Vangelis, whose sweeping, ethereal soundscapes added a sense of wonder and timelessness. The pairing of Sagan's calm, deliberate voice with the soaring music created moments that felt less like a lesson and more like a meditation. Behind the scenes, there were constant battles over budget and scope. Television executives questioned the expense of building elaborate sets, commissioning original music, and creating high-quality visuals for a science series. Sagan pushed back. If they wanted to honor the grandeur of the universe, they couldn't settle for mediocrity. Anne Druyan recalled, that one of Sagan's guiding principles was to never underestimate the audience's intelligence. "Give them the truth," he would say, "but give it to them beautifully." That philosophy became the heartbeat of Cosmos. Every scene, from the slow drift past the great red spot of Jupiter to the reconstruction of ancient libraries, was designed not just to inform, but to awaken a sense of belonging to something vast and magnificent. When asked by a skeptical producer why the show needed such care and detail, Sagan replied simply, "Because the cosmos deserves nothing less." When Cosmos, A Personal Voyage, premiered in 1980 on PBS, no one, not even Sagan, could fully predict the wave it would unleash. The first episode drew millions of viewers, an unprecedented achievement for a science program. Week after week, families gathered in living rooms across America, not for a drama or a comedy, but for a journey through time and space. The public's response was immediate and emotional. Letters poured in from viewers who said they had never cared for science until they saw Cosmos. Teachers wrote about students who suddenly asked questions about the stars. One woman recalled in a letter that her father, a factory worker who had never finished high school, stayed up late every Sunday night to watch the series, saying, "Carl makes me feel like I belong to the universe." The imagery was breathtaking, but it was Sagan's presence that anchored the show. He spoke slowly, with warmth and precision, as if each word had been chosen with care. His signature phrases, "billions and billions," and "we are made of star stuff," entered popular culture almost overnight. But beyond the catchphrases, there was a sincerity that audiences could feel. In interviews during the broadcast, journalists would sometimes challenge him. "Isn't science cold and impersonal?" Sagan would smile gently and respond, "Science is deeply human. It is born of curiosity, sustained by wonder, and tempered by humility. It's a way of asking the most ancient of questions. Where do we come from? Who are we? Where are we going?" Moments from the series became iconic, sailing past Saturn's rings in the ship of the imagination, compressing cosmic history into the final seconds of December 31st, visiting the lost wonders of the Library of Alexandria. These weren't just facts presented on screen. They were experiences designed to stir both intellect and emotion. Cosmos reached beyond science enthusiasts. It spoke to artists, philosophers, and dreamers. It reminded viewers that the universe was not an abstract concept out there, but something intimate, something in which they were active participants. In living rooms across the world, Sagan had found a way to make the cosmos feel indeed personal. The success of Cosmos didn't stop at American borders. Within months of its debut, the series was translated into dozens of languages and broadcast in more than 60 countries. In living rooms from Tokyo to Moscow, from rural villages in Africa to urban classrooms in Europe, Carl Sagan's voice carried the same message. The universe is vast, and we are part of it. One of the most remarkable milestones came when Cosmos aired in the Soviet Union during the Cold War. At a time when mistrust between the US and the USSR was at its peak, a science program became a bridge. Soviet scientists praised its accuracy, and ordinary citizens wrote letters expressing gratitude for a show that reminded them that science belonged to all humanity, not to any one nation. In classrooms, Cosmos became more than a television event. It became a teaching tool. Teachers found that its mix of storytelling and visuals engaged students far more deeply than textbooks alone. Many future scientists, engineers, and writers would later cite Cosmos as the moment they realized the universe was not just out there, it was accessible to them. Of course, not everyone embraced it. There were critics who claimed Sagan's poetic approach diluted scientific rigor. and others who objected to his dismissal of pseudoscience and astrology. Sagan responded calmly but firmly. The truth, he would say, is not diminished by beauty, and beauty is not weakened by truth. The two should walk together. The series also influenced the language of science communication. It showed that facts alone could inform, but thoughts wrapped in narrative could inspire. It became a model for how to reach broad audiences without sacrificing depth. Anne Druyan later recalled how Sagan saw television not as an escape from reality, but as a tool to expand it. He believed that media could foster empathy, break down barriers, and spark a global conversation about our shared future. In that sense, Cosmos was never just about stars and galaxies. It was about the people looking up at them. More than 4 decades after its first broadcast, Cosmos, A Personal Voyage, still resonates. Its central message, that understanding the universe is inseparable from understanding ourselves, remains as urgent as ever. Climate change, space exploration, and our search for life beyond Earth are all conversations shaped, in part, by the seeds Carl Sagan planted. Anne Druyan, who co-created the original series, carried its spirit forward. Decades later, she developed new seasons of Cosmos for a new generation, proving that the hunger for awe and understanding has not faded. Yet even in its modern forms, the heartbeat of the series is still Sagan's voice, calm and deliberate, urging us to see the bigger picture. For many scientists, communicators, and artists, Cosmos was the spark that ignited their careers. Figures like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, and Brian Cox have openly credited Sagan's work as their inspiration. But perhaps more importantly, countless viewers with no scientific background have described the series as life-changing, an invitation to curiosity they never forgot. The series also left behind a set of ideas that feel timeless, that we are star stuff, connected to the cosmos in the most literal way, that our planet is a fragile oasis in the vast darkness, deserving of care and stewardship, that the pursuit of knowledge is not cold detachment, but an act of love. In one of his most quoted reflections, Sagan said, "The cosmos is also within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." Those words, simple yet profound, have outlived the original broadcast and become part of our cultural vocabulary. Today, Cosmos stands not just as a milestone in science communication, but as a reminder that stories, when told with honesty, beauty, and passion, can outlast the storyteller. And somewhere, perhaps in another corner of the galaxy, if another civilization ever finds our messages in the void, they might understand something fundamental about us. That we looked up, we wondered, and we longed to know. If you believe in that same longing, if you feel that call to explore, then follow it. Just as Cosmos once opened a door for millions, you too can step through it. Keep asking questions. Keep looking up. The universe is waiting.